Well, my name's Sarah McMullin, and I'm a senior biology major at Emory. And today I'm going to be talking about Vaccinium macrocarpon, which is in the Ericaceae family. And the common name is cranberry, and cranberry is one of only 3 fruits, apparently, that are native to North America. And the other 2 are the blueberry and the bilberry, and all 3 of them are in the Vaccinium family, or genus. And cranberries are a really important food crop here in the United States, especially around this time of year, like Thanksgiving. And this year, 7.5 million barrels were produced here. And it's also been a very important food and medicine traditionally for Native American people. Here's people float harvesting cranberries. Cranberries have little pockets of air in them, which lets them float if they flood the field, so then they can just collect them like that. And cranberries are native to cool, temperate forests in the northeastern United States and southeastern Canada, like you can see here. But they've also been naturalized along the west coast, like in Alaska and British Columbia. And they grow on a shrub that's like less than a foot tall, and they have small, dark green oval leaves. And the flowers are white to pink, and when they're pollinated by insects, because the pollen is quite heavy, so it can't be transported by wind. But if it's not pollinated, the flower actually turns more pink. So if it's still pretty white, that usually means it's been pollinated. And when they're ripe, the berries are bright red like this. And I'll put them over here so you can look. And traditionally, they were called sasamanash by native people. And they were really important for food. And one of the food things they used to make was called pemmican. And pemmican is like dried cranberries and dried meat and fat. And it's all packed together into like a little bar thing. And they would take it on hunting and canoe trips. And they'd also sell it during the fur trade. And the Métis people, which are like mixed between French and native, did a lot of business in this trade. And also during early exploration of North America, cranberries were really important because they're very high in vitamin C, and it could prevent scurvy. And for medicine, they were used for urinary tract infections mostly, but also for blood poisoning and diabetes and wound healing and stomach problems. And besides food and medicine, they could be used for dyes because of the bright red color. They'd use them to dye blankets or clothes, and you could also string them to wear as a necklace or jewelry. And the most important chemicals in Vaccinium macrocarpon are the flavonoids. You can see here they're made up of like benzene rings, and the most prevalent of those is quercetin. And these flavonoids usually occur in flavonol glycosides, which means they're attached to a sugar. And the structure of the sugar affects its biological activity or bioavailability. And they're really important because they're free radical neutralizers and antioxidants, which we all hear a lot about. And it's shown lots of biological activity against cancer. And they've shown that the extract from the cranberry can activate apoptosis in tumor cells in mice. And it does that by activating the caspase 8 pathway. And it's also been shown to reduce arterial stiffness, but that mechanism is not quite known. But most importantly, it's been shown to inhibit bacterial growth and biofilm formation. And it seems to do this by the proanthocyanidin, which affects the adhesins, which are on the pili of the bacteria, and they keep it from binding to surfaces like the inside of your urinary tract system. So it doesn't actually kill the bacteria, but it stops them from colonizing. And there's been quite a few clinical studies, especially in urinary tract infections in children and women. And most have shown that they work better, you drink cranberry juice, and it works better than a placebo. You can see the numbers there, but it doesn't quite work as well as an antibiotic prophylactic, which is what they give to a lot of people that have recurrent infections. But as you know, giving antibiotics to people like for long periods of time has a lot of side effects, especially antibiotic resistance that you won't have if you take cranberries. And cranberries are generally recognized as safe, and there's very few side effects. There is a potential, there's not a lot of research for this, but if you're taking a blood thinner called Warfarin, it can lead to more bruising or excess bleeding. And if you take it in very, very large doses, it can cause kidney stones or diarrhea or like upset stomach. And they're currently being sold as supplements online and in pharmacies, and they're sold for general urinary tract health and cancer prevention, and they're often recommended by nutritionists for these things too. And also, doctors recommend them to a lot of their patients with recurrent urinary tract infections before they would prescribe an antibiotic to see if it works. And so in conclusion, it's been used for years in both medicine and for food by Native Americans, and there's lots of research that looks really promising into cancer prevention and treatment and into urinary tract prevention. So hopefully they'll become even more important in the near future. And one of the best things is there's no side effects, basically, and they taste